Yeah, what's up, everybody? It's football season. Look at that. We have officially entered a new area, a new plateau, a new stratosphere of entertainment. And that means the NFL is back. That means Eric Lindquist is back throwing everything he possibly can at the wall at every single pick'em site possible, finding an edge. I'm here with you for the next, foreseeable future until Greg Ehrenberg says enough is enough with this guy. We tried the experiment. It's over. And then here comes Jordan Klein, who we continue to wake up at ungodly hours on the West Coast. What's up, everybody? It's good to be back on the big ship here.
Top of the morning to you, Eytan Shander. Good to have you in the streets. Good to be chatting a little bit of pick'em, a little bit of betting with the people. Obviously, we are looking into PrizePicks. We're looking into Underdog and DraftKings Pick6. They are gigantic. Obviously, there are many places where you can play that, not necessarily find action at a sports book. And so we want to talk you through some of the ins and outs about how to attack these sites for week 1 of NFL. I think there's a lot of fascinating underlying, I'd say, new rule changes for DraftKings Pick6, and we'll be able to play cross-sport on PrizePicks and Underdog. Can't do that on Pick6. You're playing just the NFL on that one. There are some intricacies, that's the word that I'm looking for, and we're going to get you into it right now.
I love it. I love it. All right. So speaking of which, we appreciate everybody. The chat is always active. If you want to hit the thumbs up button as you enter in, we'll tell you everything going on here between drafters and this just ridiculous sale that continues to go on here across the entire Stochastic site. But as you mentioned, there are intricacies, there are subtle differences, there are ways in which you approach pick'em. And it's not just the fact that you can do cross-sport parlays on PrizePicks. You can do that on a sports book as well, but it's finding the value specifically when it comes to pick'ems. And we're not going to do this every week because, you should be up to date. Hopefully you're paying attention. You got your little digital notepad here, but let's run through that because there's probably one, maybe two big things that stand out. And people should know this at the start of the season as they gravitate more towards pick'ems.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is understanding the payout structure and how it works and why it's different than a typical parlay at a sports book, and then also which sites you should be playing which combinations of. Let's start with Pick6 because this is the newest kid on the block, and I think the one that people are the most unfamiliar with. You're able to put 2 to 6 players together inside of a quote-unquote lineup card, and you basically are playing peer-to-peer. The other two sites, PrizePicks and Underdog, you're playing against the house. They're set numbers. We are going to deal with those. They can change. But now on Pick6 for this NFL season, and this was introduced during the Super Bowl. That was the first time Pick6 existed in any capacity. But you are basically going to have moving numbers. So you want to be really early when some of these numbers drop over on Pick6, and you want to be attacking them. If there's news that's going to show up, you want to be attacking them because Pick6, once it reaches a certain quota, they will pull plays off the board if they're too popular, or if they've just basically been hammered by a number of different types of cards. There's also a way that you can look and see which contests are more full. So right now it's 52% on the 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 pick cards. So you don't have to think about that too much, but the largest contest sizing are those 6 pick ones. And even if you just put like $1 in at Pick6 or $2 at Pick6, you could make 120x if some of the more popular plays fail. Because again, it's peer-to-peer. You're playing against other people. As we go to PrizePicks and Underdog, I just want you to keep this in mind. On PrizePicks, 5 and 6 pick cards. You really don't want to be dealing with 2, 3, or 4 because over any long-term sample size, if we're doing this throughout the entire NFL season, you're going to lose on a lot of money you potentially could have made by simply finding break-even plays as a 5th and 6th option because of the way that the payout structure works, where you get 25x, then 2x for 5 of 6, and then you get 0.4x back for your money on the streets over there. And on an Underdog, the most profitable pick card type, 3 pick power. So we're looking at 3 plays that we want to put together on the Underdog cards. I know this is a lot of information to throw out there immediately, but I promise you, you can see directly on the screen as we're going to work through stuff in future weeks through each specific site. And as we do, you're going to see very, very quickly that, oh man, negative EV, I'm going to have negative EV by playing 4 pick cards. Yes, you actually are, because on either of those sites, PrizePicks or Underdog, you play 4 pick cards, you're leaving money on the table because the payout structures are fixed. Everything is one play. Everything is set in stone on those. We do have red goblins. We have some of the green stuff that we can deal with, and we'll deal with that as it comes. But for the most part, that is the structure that we want to be sticking to on each of these sites.
All right, so let's look at this here. We'll dive into prize picks right away, try to find some advantages. As you mentioned, we're looking at 5 to 6 cards. And for all of you who are like, oh my goodness, that is a lot of information, don't worry, because as we build these cards each week, we're going to stay true to that form. We're not just going to hit you with 1 or 2 underdog plays after Eric just laid out that you have to run the 3-card power. So we'll build that, don't worry. Let's look at it here from the start. Now, overall, and I'm just looking at this football game, I think this is going to be somewhere between a disappointment and a disaster for one of these teams. And I think it's kind of obvious that it would be Baltimore, right? If I'm laying it out that way, I just don't think the Ravens have enough consistency. And I don't think that Derrick Henry's arrival here is going to change anything. And I'll get into it a little deeper as we kind of go into your plays here for prize picks. But just looking at an overall general approach to this game, my friend, I don't like the Ravens. And I think their offensive line is going to be the massive reason why.
I'm with you. I think though we can kind of find some edges for that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the Caleb Williams free square. So we're going to do that. You can play up to $25 on any of these free squares. You could break it up as $5 on 5 different cards. I really strongly prefer people do it that way. A lot of people just see them put all $25 on one play and on one card, and I'm just wondering why you would do that when you can break it up and give yourself different options for 5 and 6 pick cards. Because again, they're going to have like 3, 4, 5% expected win percentages no matter what. But back to the football game, I think there is one popular square that I'm very curious to get your thoughts on, because Lamar Jackson, they have coupled his passing, rushing, and reception TDs together. That is even available on other marketplaces, like as you're looking around sports books. And I find it to be a very interesting projection because when we go over to the Pick6 spot, we're going to see less than 1.5 touchdowns thrown as one of the most popular plays of the entire day. I think it's probably the best play that exists on the Pick6 board. But when you add rushing and reception TDs, we're mainly worried about rushing for Lamar Jackson. I think that becomes an interesting card to be talking about because we know the rushing equity. He's done well against Spagnola's defenses in the past. He's had some massive, extreme rushing upside, not just against Spagnola, but against anybody. How do you feel about Lamar Jackson with that square? Because it is one of the most popular that exists here on the board.
So first, let's just not bury the lead here. We are covered if, in fact, Baltimore runs the Ravens special. That's what you're telling me. First and foremost is that if they do throw to Lamar in the end zone, we are covered with this prop on PrizePicks. So I appreciate the good people over there doing that for us. I love this prop, and it correlates with everything with Lamar on the ground for me. And I think that's going to involve scoring. You're basically getting 2 total touchdowns from a guy who is going to, and I think out of necessity, and dare I even say emergency, have to move around a lot with the football. 3 new offensive linemen. Their offensive line coach passed away this offseason. They brought in a guy who was absolutely atrocious with a record that is just the opposite of what you want moving forward. They're going to struggle. Now, Lamar is an all-world MVP talent, so that's where you get, Eric, him moving around. There's going to be design runs. There's going to be the pocket broke down. They're going to move the pocket. Lamar's just going to have to tuck it at times. And look, he is always a threat now that the Philadelphia Eagles, you're welcome, have introduced this brotherly shove. The sneak is back. It's back in action now, right? It's kitsch. So I think, yeah, this is great. Give me 2 touchdowns from Lamar Jackson tonight, even though I think they lose the game and don't cover. Yes, this is a beautiful find by you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one to add there because there's also this other thing that we can talk about, especially when you get free squares like this with Caleb Williams, finding middles between multiple pick'em sites. So on the DraftKings Pick6, I just saw that they did lock his less than 1.5 touchdowns, or I guess both sides of it to be exact. But I do think that you want to be looking for those middle opportunities. Yesterday,
Yeah.
it existed with Zach Gallen. I took a ton of less than 2.5 earned runs, and I was able to get a little bit of exposure, not a ton, again, because you get paid out in multiples of things. But there was a 1.5 earned runs once Matt Chapman got scratched that showed up on Underdog. Well, I basically found a small middle on Underdog that would have broke me even in the event that Zach Gallen didn't end up succeeding. But because I strongly preferred the less of 2.5 earned runs, I put the most money and invested the most money in that play on Pick6 while on Underdog, taking like some small shots just to find that middle. There are going to be tons of middle opportunities as this NFL season goes on. There are going to be sites where we see one that is at 3 or 4 yards difference in terms of receiving, and we want to play those players there, and we want to do the payout structures there correctly. So it's something to keep in mind. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, I think when you add the rushing and receiving touchdowns for it, it's going to grade out pretty darn well for me. I find it hard to not look past it. I do think Derrick Henry, we don't know exactly what to expect from him today. I do think he's going to play more third downs than people think, and I think Justice Hall probably gets kept off the field as much. But Lamar Jackson still has that rushing equity. I get that inside of the 5, it's probably going to be the King Henry show, but Lamar Jackson, he's too active in the running game to not like more on 1.5 when it's like a break-even number on the pass alone over at Sportsbooks.
Couldn't you see 1st and goal on the 4-yard line? Henry gets stuffed. Next thing you know, they load the box again. It's 2nd and goal on the 4-yard line. And exactly, you know exactly where I'm going, right?
Yep.
There's Lamar. Okay, it's not like the Chiefs are dumb. Steve Spagnuolo's a hell of a defensive coordinator, but now you're on one-on-one. You're on just make a move on one defender, and you get into the end zone if there's even a guy there. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. Alan Hallis brings up Derrick Henry, Lamar together about to annihilate, just having Henry in the backfield going to open the receivers up. I guess my biggest concern with Henry, and I don't know if this correlates to maybe a rushing attempt play here for you. You said you didn't really know, and I think a lot of us don't really know, but if there was one area that I would look at for Henry, it would, depending on the number itself, it would be looking at rushing attempts and say, I don't like Baltimore to be in this game as far as like up, covering, what have you. And while there may be a big play here or there, this is not just a pound. You're not going to keep up with this other offense by just pounding Derrick Henry. 16 rushing attempts. I understand it's Derrick Henry, but that seemed a little high for me. I don't know if you disagree with that.
No, I don't think so. And this is actually a fun conversation piece right here. We have on PrizePicks 16 rushing attempts for Derrick Henry. I think if you go to Underdog, he's at 15.5 rushing attempts.
Ooh.
So as we're piecing together some of these cards, if you are interested in taking a more or a less on certain things, I think it's going to be very important that we go between some of the cards, because on a day-to-day basis, that's what I'm doing. I like to have PrizePicks Underdog, DraftKings Pick6 open. I'm using our optimizer both at OddsShopper and now over at Stochastic to utilize our projections and then to utilize our market-based approach over at OddsShopper to find some of these plays and the discrepancies between the pick'em sites. But which side of that did you like more, the 15.5 higher or lower?
No, 16 lower with the push still in play there.
So I'm definitely with you there. So I like the less on 16 rushing attempts. I do think that, 3-point favorites, Kansas City, there's a lot of ways. I mean, Baltimore went in and just knocked the socks off of the San Francisco Giants. Is it out of the question that Baltimore comes in, on the road here and puts up some points early and possibly has to just ride Derrick Henry into the sunset? Sure, but he's also back with a lot of tread on the tires. And I do think that we're going to still see Justice Hall rolled in. I'm just curious how they're going to handle a lot of these 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7 type situations. If it's going to be Derrick Henry exclusively, if it's going to be Justice Hill exclusively, I don't think we know. And obviously there's 3 preseason games and no data to really tell us what is going to happen there. But I'm with you. I think less on 16 makes the most sense. It is Kansas City and Arrowhead, one of the best game environments, 3-point dogs. I think less on 16, potentially them taking it easy for him. And also, don't forget Mark Andrews back in our lives. He was out a lot of last year, and there's a lot of ways where he gets involved early, and you can basically find some of those short patterns. Isaiah Likely, not exactly a zero by any means. Curious to see how he works if they're going to run any 12. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. So many ways that I think Derrick Henry, we like the less on 16 there, but again, Underdog has it at 15.5. I find them to be a sharper pick'em site between the two of them. So definitely give me less on Derrick Henry there.
All right, let's look at this. We're going to build 5 here. And as you mentioned, we'll keep going back and forth. It's a great find to look at the difference between the 15.5 and 16, especially finding the best angle to go less or lower, depending on the site here. So we've got 2 left on PrizePicks. Give me something on the Chiefs side that's popped out here for you.
Yeah, there's one that I find to be interesting, and I'm kind of comparing the two as we go. There are markets that are also available over on PrizePicks and Underdog that aren't available on Pick6. So I find, if I'm going to be invested across multiple sites, I do want to try to like find some of the niche markets that I think make the most sense. But let's go to Xavier Worthy, because this is somebody that I wasn't even that high on coming out for this season. And I did look at his reception targets. I thought 5.5 seemed a little excessive, where, 3.5, I think less on the 5.5 reception targets. However, there are pick'em plays on Underdog that I like for positive Xavier Worthy, specifically longest play. 20.5 was the number. I think it's at 21.5 as it stands right now for Xavier Worthy, but I don't think he's going to get some crazy amount of targets. Yeah, 21.5 longest reception over on Underdog. And then 5.5 reception targets, I like less for that over on PrizePicks. Look, I don't think he's just only burner. He has the fastest 40 time in the history of the NFL Combine, 4.21. The guy's an absolute specimen when it comes to running straight lines. You know who else was? MVS, and he ran wind sprints. You know who else is pretty athletic and, pretty darn fast? Justin Watson. He runs wind sprints for these Kansas City Chiefs. I think Xavier Worthy is going to keep them very, very honest. The Baltimore Ravens. You've got Hamilton, one of the best one of the best cornerbacks in all of football. I think he's going to be primarily looking at Rice in the middle of the field, but I think Xavier Worthy looking at like potentially 6-7 targets. I think that's pretty unlikely for his first game out of the jump with Pacheco, with Kelsey. You get Juju Smith-Schuster, who's going to be active for this football game, it sounds like, and he's far more familiar with this offense. I think Andy Reid probably trusts him, and that's why he's bringing him in to eat up some of that time. Kadarius Toney's out of there, but wasn't really on the field at the end of last year. Give me less on 5.5 reception targets. Yet another niche market that isn't available on other sites that I think we want to be targeting on PrizePicks.
Yeah, the only thing I've seen and it's not even contrary to that, because I think this is a good play and identification here, is that with a possible, we imagine, right, a suspension looming for Rashee Rice, there's this push to get someone like Worthy involved now so that there isn't as much of a learning curve. But I look, the Chiefs don't need that. They've survived with far less talent, as you mentioned, a couple of those guys. All right, we need one more here on PrizePicks, and we got to just remind, after this, we have to just remind people, because we're using what we're about to give you for a buck, and that's just one of the like infinite amount of things you can take advantage of. So we don't want to go too long without reminding you here. Again, thumbs up if you're popping in right now, hanging with myself and Eric Lindquist, Jordan Klein producing. Let's do this. Let's add one more. I don't know if you want to go big name here, or if you want to try and sneak under the radar with somebody.
Yeah, so remember, we can also play multiple sports, which I think is the other fun part.
Are you going MLB tonight?
Oh, I was going to take it to the MLB streets potentially for a second, unless you had a WNBA play you wanted to fire, because Brianna Stewart is at 22.5 points, and I like less on that. I have that in some cards.
That's actually not bad. I don't want to go too deep into the WNBA. I think it's either Brandon Ruka or it's Brianna Stewart for me. Although I wouldn't hate if you went Ezzy Magbegor.
I was going to take you to Eugenio Suarez. More than 0.5 total bases. The guy's been on an absolute heater. It's in San Francisco. We're looking for one hit. We're looking for one hit. And anytime you're looking for one hit from a hitter that is starting to move up in the order because he's been very, very effective, and you're going to be taking on San Francisco. I mean, I'm a little bit surprised, in fact, to see that San Francisco is favored in this spot. I get it. Arizona Merrill Kelly's been a little bit of a struggle bus candidate here for them, and Blake Snell's an absolute beast. But it's Eugenio Suarez against a lefty, and he's primarily just a lefty killer. That's kind of the point of him being on this baseball team. but he doesn't get pitch hit for. There's nobody that's going to be coming in from the left side to pinch hit for him. And at 0.5 total bases, I mean, the guy has what, 5, 7, and 6 in 3 of his last 4. Again, we're looking for one hit. Blake Snell's been on an absolute heater. I do think they start trimming down his pitch count as we go along. This is a taxed out San Francisco bullpen, and Henio Suarez, 0.5 total bases, I really like as maybe a last sweetener.
Okay. Look, I will add here, as far as what we have from a pick'em standpoint, there's a little edge, market edge, 1% market edge, but edge is edge, right? You take it any way you can, especially if you're looking to add something in the end, and that would be going under 79.5 rushing and receiving yards for Isaiah Pacheco. But you add in Suarez, I have no problem there with the cross-sport part. I feel good about adding something like that in, right? We're not flexing. We're not trying to get cute. This is just makes sense.
My absolute hero, Mike Krzyzewski. I just love seeing somebody named Jesse Krzyzewski hanging out in the chat, saying to get some likes up for us. I appreciate you. I also appreciate your last name, because that guy is my hero in life. Like, Mike Krzyzewski is everything I wish that I was. That guy is the absolute GOAT. I've got my Duke basketball over in the corner to prove it.
Top 5 Mike Krzyzewski moment has to be something he's not even in, right?
Interesting.
You know what I'm going here with?
Something he's not even in? Mike Krzyzewski moment. Something he's
like
not
something
even in.
I know who Mike Krzyzewski is, right? We
I know
all
you do. Yeah.
But there's something I think of, like, that I still associate him with today, and he wasn't even in it.
I have no idea what you're getting at.
Do you remember the old Bud Light commercial where the guy was always trying to scheme a limo? And then there was a guy holding a card, and it was like Ann Smith. And he'd walk up and say, "Driver, does your vehicle have Bud Light?" And he'd say, "Yes." And he'd say, "Well, I'm Ann Smith," right? And it was like, obviously not.
Yeah.
And then they kept pushing, and then they made a Mike Krzyzewski one. And he's like, "Well, I'm Mike Krzyzewski." And it was just,
oh my
I'll
gosh,
never forget that. Yep.
That's pretty great. That's pretty great.
That's deep. That's a deep cut Mike Krzyzewski reference that you can bring up now.
He's not bringing up the Olympics. He was definitely coaching that. He's not bringing up, running up the court after the Christian Laettner or not half quarter, but turnaround at the free throw line.
Nope.
I'm going through like the Mike Krzyzewski Rolodex of things. I also love him like playing slots in Vegas by himself, just hanging out after retirement. That was a fantastic. That was a great Mike Krzyzewski moment.
That's a good one. All right, we'll recap the PrizePicks card for you. We'll head on over to Underdog and then end with Pick6. Some bets, I'm sure, will continue to come out here as we talk about it. But look, there's something going on here for $1. $1. And we'll tell you, this is, again, the beauty about Stochastic is that everybody here that's pushing something whenever and however we push it is stuff that we use. And I think Eric can go into a little bit more detail, because there is so much that you are going to get here with this. I don't think I've seen, to be honest with you, Eric, I don't think I've seen or remember a deal like this before in the 4 or so years that I've been here, where for $1, you're basically getting everything, right?
Yeah, it's absurd. $1 to get the Sims tool, $1 to get the pre-contest simulator, $1 to get the contest generator, $1, again, and not multiple dollars. We're talking $1 for all of that. The late swap tool, if you guys are looking to late swap on Sunday NFL, something I talk about all the time. You need to be utilizing all of these tools for week 1. And again, when it's just $1, if you're going to play, I mean, the fewest amount of money you can put on a PrizePicks card is $5. 1/5 of a PrizePicks card can help you build it out with the Pick'em optimizers, which again are getting moved onto the stochastic tools side of things so that we can update projections, have it be more projection based for you. We have some of the best data in the entire game. We can prove it to you. And well, if you're playing DFS, code kickoff gets you all of that for $1. It's an absurd deal that I can't really remember. And if you're planning on doing anything for week 1 on Pick'em or on DFS, either side of it, it'd be kind of foolish not to at least try this out for $1 or compare and see what you have or what you might be interested in compared to what is top of the priority list for us in terms of the entry builder.
I think it was 4. I have to go back and check. They're all tweeted, they're all public, but I think it was either 4 or 5 single, pardon me, not single entry, but 4 or 5 primetime games, right? Showdowns where I hit, and I either won outright or was part of the group that won.
And you're an
And I
idiot.
feel like last year, right?
Yeah. And you're a dum-dum.
And that's what I mean. That's the easiest way that I could transfer this over. The majority of you are either like, who the hell is this guy? Or in 28 minutes of talking, know that I don't know what I'm talking about. So how can I backdoor my way into winning a showdown? How can I backdoor my way into, and it's like, one of our editors asked me to write a column after I hit one. It was pretty big. It was like, I think 25, maybe 3,000 in the tournament that I took home. And the editor, Eric, was like, can you write a column kind of detailing what you did and how you won? And I laughed back. I was like, who do you think I am? Do you think I have some model? Do you think that I'm awesome-o? Right? Like, I just went and downloaded what it told me on the generator on the NFL Sims, which I live by, and copied and pasted that into a spreadsheet and upload. Like, is that what you want me to write? And that's it. And now you get this for $1. Honestly, I don't know. We all use this. We're all successful with it. That's the easiest way that I think we can relay this to you. If you don't want
I'm
it, then you're
excited for
missing
this.
out.
I'm excited for this. All right. Riley
Look at this.
Cooper, 14, $1.99. Can Watson be trusted? I'm assuming we're talking about Justin Watson. We can talk about some of the week 1 stuff if you guys want to look ahead, because again, these are all equal squares unless we're going to the Scorchers, which are on Underdog, or the Demons, the Demon, Red Demon, Devil, Red Devil, Green Goblin. Those are the two over on PrizePicks. Everything on Pick6 is identical across the board. The only thing that will change is the payout structure because it's peer-to-peer, and we'll get there last. But let's go to Justin Watson. But I want to go to Justin Watson on our NFL projected stats page. So Jordan Klein, if we could, my absolute GOAT producer back there, best in the game, named Jordan Klein. Let's go to the NFL DFS premium data, okay? And let's go to the advanced data and NFL DFS projected stats. Again, this comes with that $1. And I don't think a lot of people know that this is here. But the reason that I'm bringing this up is I want you to then type in Justin Watson. And let's type in Justin Watson here on the receiving end, because obviously that is his job here with the Kansas City Chiefs. We have him projected for 2.3 targets, 1 catch, but 16.6 yards. Now, this is a mean projection. So you have to take it down a little bit because we're going to be looking at the median. We're looking for like, what does Justin Watson do for a 50th percentile outcome? Can he exceed it? Now, for Pick'em, because we're trying to, finish 56, 57, it's roughly like minus 122, minus 125, depending on what type of pick card we're putting together. I always try to like push it towards the higher end of it because, if I can outperform minus 122, minus 125 in terms of my picks, I'm going to be a winner long-term on Pick'em. But Justin Watson, 16.6 yards. Let's go to Underdog now, because we have one play that I think just stands out above all the rest on Justin Watson on Underdog. And it's, once again, that niche market that I'm talking about where they don't care. Lots of people aren't doing the projections and putting in the work to care about longest reception. Now, Xavier Worthy, I got 20.5. He's at 21.5 now. I'm probably going to be passing on that here for this Pick'em card, but longest reception for Justin Watson, if he does catch a football, higher than 11.5 seems like a really good bet based on our data, no?
So look at this. His total receiving yards is 15.5.
Correct.
So what's more likely in one catch, right? That he hits, or 2 catches. Like, he's more likely in one grab to get 12 yards than he is to go over the 16, if that makes sense. Like, it's a better play, if I can word that properly. It's a better play to attack the 12 than it is the 16, because you don't even know what the volume is. You only need 1 catch to get you 12, as opposed to you may need 3 in this case to get you, at least targets, I should say, to get you the 16.
And if you have NFL Premium, you're able to see, Justin Watson runs straight lines. He runs that way. He runs sometimes a crossing pattern, but it's always out. It's always to to keep the safety honest, if you will. He is running at specific spots on the field. He is a burner. He is a typical like long shot, deep burner guy. That's Justin Watson's job in this offense. It's not short intermediate routes. It's not the middle of the field like a Rashee Rice or a Travis Kelce. It is simply a run down the field. 11 and a half longest reception. Based on our data alone, I find that, again, having 12, 13, 14, and 15 covered in a way where the receiving yards doesn't cover you there. Love the longest reception market over on Underdog there.
Nice. All right. So we've added that to our Underdog card. You already gave us the edge that we had on our earlier play, right? So we've got 2 in here so far.
No, I just have Justin Watson and then the 15 and a half rushing yards. Well, we had 15 and a half rushing attempts for Derrick Henry that I was looking at and comparing.
No, there was one earlier that you brought up on
Xavier Worthy. It was the same thing, but I'm going to keep it off because it's at 21 and a half now instead of 20 and a half. And also, longest reception. I'm not going to say that they're correlated or, not correlated or whatever, but like for me, it comes down to like Xavier Worthy, having it move a yard is enough now.
Yeah.
Not saying you can't do both, but I'm more inclined to say Justin Watson at 11 and a half is a better play now.
All right. So we add the gimme pick here, and that brings us to 2. We need one more play here on Underdog. And again, thanks, Riley Cooper. Appreciate it. Riley Cooper 14 had the number down and everything. Wow. That actually might be Riley Cooper, to be honest with you. Looking at this overall here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, you go back to the flow, you go back to where, and you try to combine, right? How you're seeing this game tonight with where there's an edge specific on Underdog. We talked about maybe it's the type of market that we saw in PrizePicks, or if it's simply just beating a number here compared to whatever we find elsewhere in the market. So Watson is in there. Travis Kelce is in there. Let's go on the other side. And I don't know if you look at,
I got it.
Go back to Lamar. All right. What do you have on the Ravens?
So not to throw all the promos in the entire world out there, but Underdog's doing a really cool thing this weekend where it's the Vulture TD. What do I mean by that? All the primary running backs on every single football team, there's a whole list of them. If you go to the Underdog draft site or to the Twitter there, and you simply look at the Vulture list, Derrick Henry, rushing touchdowns. If Lamar Jackson scores a touchdown, this pick'em entry, if we hit with Justin Watson, and we're obviously going to hit with Travis Kelce on total yards, if those hit, you get your entry refunded and you get a free square to utilize up to $10 going forward, which is an unbelievable deal. So a Vulture TD, anything that happens inside of the red zone, I believe, where Derrick Henry gets it vultured by Lamar Jackson having a rushing touchdown, Justice Hill having a rushing touchdown, anybody else getting a rushing touchdown that isn't Derrick Henry inside of that red zone gets you this refunded. And I'm not going to say that it's the best deal in the entire world when you're talking about higher than 1.1x, but if you go to the books right now and you look at a lot of the spots where Derrick Henry is listed, we have a great opportunity to potentially smash with Derrick Henry there. We get our third pick leg. And because of a free square that exists, almost any play you're going to attach to it is going to be positive EV with a Scorcher even. So like, even though Scorchers aren't the best payouts, they're good payouts when you have it attached to a free square.
Love that strategy here. And especially with that Kelce attached to it. All right. So that's our 3-play power card, correct? Just to recap it here.
Yep. That's perfect. So we've got PrizePicks and Underdog. And now we're heading to, I'm not going to call it the GOAT site because, I don't want to be super biased. Right? I'm pretty good at it. I like the old Pick6 very, very much. And obviously peer-to-peer, I think the same way that DFS works out, you get to take advantage of people's biases. Or again, if you're just paying attention, and obviously I do this for a living, so like I'm always on these sites and always bouncing around and firing stuff up.
This is all you do. Let's be honest. Yeah, all you do is Pick6. You walk your dog and you research and play Pick6. I don't even know if you're a DFS player anymore. Did we have to, like, has your world ranking dipped because you're just focusing on DFS now? Or I mean on Pick6 now?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm okay with that.
At least you get to spend time with the dog.
I'm just always in the shadows playing, and once in a while I'll post and I'll just be like, hey, and I like my Pick6 very, very much. But let's start with this one.
Just a quick question.
I'm ready.
How is your dog named Duke and you have never seen that Bud Light commercial? I'm still bothered by that.
I have no idea. Absolutely no clue. I'm a ridiculous human being.
Well, yes, I knew that already, but this just is separate. Like that
Mhm.
wasn't going to change. I know your madness here. All right, well, let's go to the GOAT. Let's go to the GOAT. We got another one here. Riley Cooper again is back. Can I get a Wedding Crasher reference? Now, I see. I'm very torn by this movie because I'm a fan of Vince Vaughn, but Owen Wilson is unbearable to me, at least. Unbearable.
That's not very nice. It's not very nice.
He's in movies with people that I love. Like, don't you think I want to watch him
Mhm.
kick ass with like Jackie Chan kick somebody's ass? I can't because Owen Wilson's in the movie.
Yep. Jeremy, we're going to be so happy together. I don't know why that's the first one that came to my head, but I had to pull this up because it's one of my favorites of all time. And I know it verbatim, but not necessarily under the gun. So I'm just going to go, Janice, I apologize if you don't really seem eager to jump into a forced, awkward, intimate situation that people like to call dating. I don't like the feeling. You're sitting there, you're wondering, do I have food on my face? Am I eating? Am I talking too much? Are they talking too much? And now I'm interested, but I'm not really interested, but I'm playing like I'm interested. I'm not that interested, but I think she might be interested. But do I want to be interested now that she's not interested? So all of a sudden, I'm starting to get interested. When am I supposed to kiss her? Do I wait for the door? Because when the awkward, it's like, well, good night. Do you do the ass out hug where you like hug each other and your ass sticks out, or trying to get too close, so you just try to kiss them on the lips or don't kiss them at all? It's very difficult to read the situation. All the while, we're just really wondering, are we going to get hopped up enough to make some bad decisions? Perhaps play a game called Just the Tip, just for a second, just see how it feels, or ouch, ouch, here on my hair.
Now, I don't know the movie well enough to know if you missed anything or if that was verbatim, so I'm going to assume that it was. And well, the one side of it, my friend, is wow, that's pretty impressive. What valuable piece of information do you think you removed from your brain in order to secure that in yours now for the rest of your life? You will never forget that, ever.
Yeah, probably not. It's probably why I'm still afraid of the dark. And, I just never really developed that part of my brain of maturity.
No.
So
Look,
there we are.
don't. I'm 40 whatever, and I can't tell you any other way. I don't have my life together. Jesus. There are kids in the house, and I don't have my life
My
together.
guy.
All right. So before we hit DK, pick six, and you can relay all of this information and tell people how to make all this money that you clearly do each and every time. There's this pretty cool offer at Drafters, right? You're going to get a deposit bonus up to what, 50%, up to $100. We have a promo code here for you, Stochastic2, but you're on like you are everywhere. You're lurking in the shadows of Drafters too, are you not?
I am. It's fantastic. And there's going to be massive overlay. Like, I'm almost
Huge
mad because
overlay, you
I
told
played
me.
so many underdog drafts this summer, played so many DK drafts this summer. I got into drafters late. I wish I had been doing it the entire summer because these things are just, the overlay is going to be ridiculous there today. So if you want to like know that you're putting together positive EV stuff today, drafters is the place you want to be going. And we have stuff that, it's just hard to quantify how good the overlay is relative to like playing at those
Amazing.
other sites. But I know for a fact that I should have taken all that money on the other sites and just put it on drafters.
That's amazing. The overlay alone should give you just a green light to get on over there and smash away by all means. And there's a link right there below for us in the body of this video. So as you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to this ever growing DFS community, you can take advantage of that link over at Drafters. All right, brother. You mentioned here before, what was the ideal number of a card? We have 5 to 6 for prize picks, 3 for underdog. What about pick 6?
So pick six, it all depends on what is filled. So you can click on those little tiny 3 bars that exist on the pick six site. It's right next to where it says today, and you have the drop down menu where you can look at Friday's games, Sunday's games, afternoon games. So just being able to navigate the site a little bit, I think gives you a little bit of an edge. I know that sounds silly, but looking at the contest fill rate, seeing what is filled, and the NFL contests are way bigger than what they were for WNBA or MLB. And, sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. I'm curious to see if some of these fill, and I'll generally wait because now when you put your card in, it's locked. It can't be changed after the fact. So here's the
Right.
main thing that I'm doing on pick six that I think can help you. And if you're looking for one thing from this video, I hope that this is the thing you can take with you. DraftKings Pick6 now changes the lines, but what I'm assuming is occurring is the lines change based on how many people are playing a play. So if you have a specific play in mind and you see it change a yard or 2 yards, one or two directions, it probably is positive EV to go on the other side of it, regardless of how it projects out at a sports book. One play in particular stands out above the rest for me on this one. And I think just doing the same shopping that we did on PrizePicks and Underdog helps us out with this. We got Justice Hill at 10.5 receiving yards. He was at 9.5 and 8.5 a day ago when I really was scouring through these. He's up to 10.5. My assumption is people have been taking more on 8.5 and 9.5, and now I can take less than 10.5. And not only am I on the other side of what I'm assuming is a majority of those cards, but I also have an extra yard that they don't have to work with. And I know it's on the less, and I know obviously from a median perspective, if we see Justice Hill on the field a lot more, that's going to be a problem. But considering I'm getting 10.5 for the less, man, that feels like a really, really solid play now when you shop across other sites and see 9.5 is the prevailing number at PrizePicks and Underdog.
Yeah, I think the strategy, applying it here, finding this play as a start, smaller market, looking at how few people may even identify this play, and then having to get it right on top of that. Great place to start. So let's keep it moving here. Is there anything in between? And again, just kind of looking at the site and navigating through, there was one that kind of jumped out to me. It's similar to what we were talking about. And I do wonder how this correlates with just the general pop, if you will, gravitating towards Lamar Jackson. But where else are you looking for any type of value that may have jumped out?
Well, I want to ask you because one,
Okay.
you're the betting god. You've been the on fire one between the two of us. And
On
two,
our chat, yes.
one thing I remember from Eytan Shander talking with you throughout the NFL season is you like your kicking points. Is there anything with Justin Tucker at 6.5 kicking points? Is that like, I was looking at Underdog earlier and he's at 6.5 there as well. 2.5 extra points made. 2.5 extra points made is a scorcher over there. The field goals made is at 1.5, which I find to be an interesting one. But like kicking points, we're talking, 3, and extra points. Or you would need 3 touchdowns. You need 4 touchdowns and in a field goal for that to go over. I mean, you're better off taking the 1.5 field goals made on Underdog for that one. But kicking points, you've always been good at these, and I have no idea how. I like less on a Harrison Butker, 7.5, I think. But 6.5 for Justin Tucker. I was curious what you thought about that one.
Yeah, so I'm on the Chiefs to cover. I'm on the total going under, and
Okay.
my massive concern here is the Ravens' offensive line, right? The fact that they've got 3 new faces and a terrible track record for their new offensive line coach. So that correlates already to what I was talking about with Lamar Jackson. And I think if you look at it a little bit more, I guess, global with the offense, there should be many moments throughout tonight's game. I'd say maybe 5 to 6 moments in which the Ravens are going to have to make a decision. Do we settle for a kick or do we try to push this thing? And if things are breaking down, if they're not trusting their offensive line and they're only getting down the field as a result of some chunk plays of Lamar Jackson escaping and making something happen, meaning it's not as consistent, I think this is a smash play here to go more than 6.5 kicking points, primarily, Eric, because I think you're going to get 3 field goals on the board from Tucker, and 2 of those would come in the first half. We see this. It's a primetime game. It's a season opener. Nothing is going to look in sync for anybody, especially 2 teams that play deep into the postseason. Give me a shot here with Justin Tucker going over 6.5 kicking points, knowing that I can most likely get this simply from field goals. And I'm probably going to get 10 points, which is 1 touchdown, maybe the 2 touchdowns, and anywhere from 3 to probably 4 field goals. Like, would it shock you if the Ravens offense had 15 points tonight from 5 field goals as they struggled on the Chiefs defense?
No, it would not shock me at all. Would not shock me at all. Justin Tucker, more than 6.5 kicking points. I'm going to be adding that here too. Justice Hill, less on 10.5 receiving yards, 6.5 kicking points for Justin Tucker. I don't think there's anything to correlate with that one. And I'm always interested in correlating cards over on Pick6 more than anything because,
Yep.
well, you can correlate them in the NFL now. They've chomped down on a lot of the WNBA one doesn't really have correlation that matters as much. MLB, they've cracked down on the correlation. You can't do pitcher against hitter like you used to. But for NFL, you can basically do whatever you want. That's my kind of not just inference, but that seems to be with some of the cards I've already locked in what you can do. We got to use a Kansas City Chief on the other side of this one. I kind of want to do something that's contrarian that I like.
Let's do it.
That is going to potentially give us a massive payout. How about less than 57.5 receiving yards for Travis Kelce? I know it's a new defensive coordinator in Baltimore. I know that we've got a number of different matchups that Baltimore is going to try to throw at Travis Kelce here. And I believe he put up 116 or something. He definitely exceeded this line last time that they played in the playoffs of Kansas City and Baltimore. I think Travis Kelce gets a little bit muted tonight. I think there's an opportunity to take less on his receiving yards or potentially his catches and find yourself in a spot where if that ends up failing, public loves themselves some Moors. Public loves Moors on Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce and all of these guys. I think shorting him is probably going to be what I do on Pick6. I'm not going to do it on Underdog or PrizePicks because it would be, grading out as negative EV, but this is peer-to-peer. And I think he's going to be one of the most popular plays on the entire board for today. Do you feel like that's completely crazy? Because I think I'm more inclined to do it on Pick6 than I am on any of the other pick'em sites.
No, because there's value in fading and being contrarian, especially when you can reason it out far more so than anything else with PrizePicks or Underdog. Yep. So yeah, absolutely. And when I do these write-ups here for Odd Shopper, it's the same approach whenever I'm trying. And I learned it from watching you. Do you remember that one? Or is that another outdated commercial that you have no idea what I'm referencing?
No, I have no idea what you're referencing again.
Okay. Well, we're going to get out of here in a minute, but I think that makes sense. That's our card right there, especially when you can find a popular name to fade without forcing it. And I think you did that. You walked that line and that barrier right there. All right, real quick, on the way out, mine, I don't need to give you any more rationale or reasoning because it was everything. I sound like a broken record here. My top bet of the night, over 8.5 rushing attempts for Lamar Jackson. I got it at plus 115 at MGM. It's on the Discord. It's in the marketplace. It's in Tails that you can find us here. What about you, my friend?
Yeah, my favorite play is Derrick Henry. More than 6.5 or 7.5 receiving yards. I think he plays a lot more on third down than people think. He's at 7.5 now over at PrizePicks. He was at 6.5 still on Underdog this morning. Let me double check. I kept that one off purely because I just have been beating it like a drum in the Discord. Yep, still at 6.5 receiving yards. So Underdog is the best place you can potentially put that in play. 1 yard doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're projecting a guy for like 1 or 2 catches, that 1 yard is extremely, extremely valuable. We went with the rushing touchdowns for Derrick Henry in this pick. If you want to make another card, and you can make $1 cards on Underdog, which I always find to be appealing, and I'll rotate around specific plays and do like a little round robin of my own over on Underdog. But I like that higher than 6.5 receiving yards for him over there.
Beautiful. Jordan Klein, thank you as always for doing fantastic work here. Thanks to you all out there for being a part of this. We'll be here each and every week. We'll get you ready for the entire slate, whatever that may be. Thursday night football from a pick'em standpoint at Eric Lindquist, at Shander Bets, how you can follow us here on Twitter. That's all I got, man. You want to take us home, Eric?
That'll do, Pig. That'll do.
We'll see you.